You ever feel like you've just hit a wall, like with a skill you're trying to master? You put in the hours, you practice, but that next level, it just feels totally out of reach. Well, today we're going to dive into one person's story of facing a literal wall of water and the surprisingly simple tool they used to break right through it. Okay, so picture this. Our story kicks off on a beach in Da Nang. There's a lone surfer staring out at the ocean, and this is not your postcard perfect, calm, inviting beach day. No way. The waves are big, they're powerful, and they just keep coming. And you can just feel how overwhelming it was from their own words. I hesitated many times. Because of fear and lack of confidence, I could only surf one wave properly. And isn't that just the core of the struggle for so many of us? That gap between what you know you can do and what your fear actually lets you do. All right, so let's really break this experience down. First up, we've got to talk about what it was like facing those waves, the challenge itself, and the thoughts that came after. I mean, just look at this list of what they were up against. We're talking big, powerful waves, and no easy channel to even paddle out through. You've got these hard-breaking sections and sets of waves just rolling in, one after another, super fast. And to top it all off, they were completely alone. This wasn't just a physical thing, it was a huge mental game. But then, here comes the turning point. In the middle of all that doubt and all that fear, they caught one single successful ride. Now, you might think, just one wave, but that's all it took. That one moment was enough. It became this incredibly powerful learning experience, kind of like the key that unlocked a whole new way of looking at things. And that's what brings us to the next part of this story. It's all about having a framework for that fear, a way to turn a raw, kind of messy experience into a lesson you can actually use. And really, this is the question we should all be asking ourselves when we hit a snag, right? How do you take a tough experience and make it into something powerful? Because just going through it isn't enough. You've got to actively process it to do something with it. So, what's the tool? Well, you've probably heard of it, maybe in a boring business meeting or something. It's a SWOT analysis. It sounds corporate, but it's actually a super simple and really effective way to look at 4 key things: your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And the way it works is incredibly simple. You just look at your situation and put things into 4 boxes. First, you ask, is this about me, an internal thing, or is it about the world around me, an external thing? Then you ask, is it helping me or is it hurting me? That's literally it. The internal things that help are your strengths, the internal things that hurt are your weaknesses, external things that help are opportunities, and external things that hurt are threats. Simple. Okay, so let's put this framework into action. Let's apply it directly to that intense surf session. Time for the SWOT breakdown. All right, first up, let's talk about the good stuff, the internal, helpful things, strengths. So even with all that fear, you got to remember, our surfer had a ton going for them. They had great ocean awareness just from watching the conditions, a safety-first mindset, which is crucial. They had solid paddling ability and a really strong motivation to be out there, plus consistent practice habits. And these things, man, that's the foundation you build everything else on. That kind of experience in the water, that ability to stay calm when everything around you is pure chaos, you just can't learn that from a book. That's something you earn out there. Okay, so that's the good internal stuff. Now let's look at the flip side, the weaknesses. And look, this is where you have to be really honest with yourself. The surfer knew they had a clear fear of big waves, a lack of confidence in their timing, and pretty limited experience in conditions that intense. And all of that led to overthinking, which is why they kept hesitating. But just recognizing those internal blocks, that's the first and maybe the most important step. And man, you can really feel that pressure in this shot. When it's just you out there in those heavy conditions with nothing but that tiny statue way off in the distance, the mental pressure just goes through the roof. And suddenly, every little weakness feels 10 times bigger than it really is. Okay, so we've covered the internal stuff. Let's shift gears now and look at the external factors, starting with opportunities. So these are things in the environment that could have actually helped. Like, what if they'd gone in the morning when the waves were smoother, or just moved down the beach to a safer spot? Even a rough session like this is a massive opportunity to learn. And simple stuff, like checking the tides and the wind, total game changer. And finally, we gotta look at the last piece of the puzzle, The external harmful stuff, the threats. Now, these are the things you absolutely cannot ignore. We're talking powerful waves that can cause serious injury, no clear channel to get out safely, an unfamiliar spot that could have hidden rocks or currents, and surfing all alone means there's no one to help if things go wrong. These are the hard realities of the environment that you just have to respect. So, what happens when you put all of this together? When you lay it all out, what's the big insight? Well, it all comes down to one thing: finding the right balance. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Improving surfing skills is about balance between confidence and caution, courage and safety. See, it's not about being fearless and just charging into anything. It's about being smart. It's about that delicate dance between pushing yourself and keeping yourself safe. And what's cool is that this insight gives you a really clear action plan. Step 1, you actively work on reducing your weaknesses. Step 2, you use your strengths to make good calls. Step 3, you learn to pick the right moments, the right opportunities. And step 4, you know when to back off and avoid those unnecessary threats. And obviously, this whole thing isn't really just about surfing, is it? It's about mastering whatever waves you happen to be facing in your own life. Because we all have them, right? Those big waves. Maybe it's a huge project at work, or learning a new skill, or some personal goal that just feels huge. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. What challenge in your life is waiting for its own SWOT analysis?